In response to COVID-19, PSP is offering telefitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the telefitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Prior to participating in this session, and to make an informed decision on whether you should seek advice from a qualified exercise professional or healthcare provider, consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document, simply by clicking on the links provided. By continuing with this telefitness class, you understand that there is a possibility of physical injury, and you agree that you do so voluntarily at your own risk. You also assume all risk of injury and agree to release the Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services from any and all claims related to your participation in this telefitness class. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, a fitness and sports instructor from Garrison Petawawa. I hope you're all having a lovely Good Friday, and welcome to Flexibility Mobility Fusion. Our goal today is to improve your body awareness, your mobility, and also to move your body from head all the way down to your toes. Please feel free to play your own music at home, something that you find relaxing, and just make sure that it's at a volume where you can still hear me. What I'm going to show you today is safe for everyone. If you ever feel any pain while you're doing this, just back off from wherever the pain is, about 10 to 15 degrees or until you no longer feel that pain. And when I'm talking about pain, I mean if you feel anything pinching, stabbing, burning, those are signals that you want to avoid. If it's a little bit uncomfortable or feels like a really deep stretch, then that's totally fine. Once you're comfortable with the sequence that we're going to learn today, it will only take you about 10 minutes. It's something that I recommend you do every day in order to check in with your body, notice if anything is different, if something feels better than it did the day before, or if it feels worse. It's a really good way just to check in with your body and see how you're doing. Every movement is going to be slow, controlled, and mindful. You can think of this as a meditation for your body. The first thing that we're going to do is talk about something called irradiation. So I know that you know what bracing your core is. Irradiation is bracing your core for your whole body. It's the ability to be able to create tension through every muscle, and it's something that's really important for what we're doing today. So we'll start. I'll just have you come to a standing position if you aren't already. Feet are going to be set between hip and shoulder width apart, something that's comfortable for you, and arms are just relaxed down by your sides. So we'll start with something that's familiar. You're going to brace your core. Imagine that someone's going to punch you in the stomach. You can feel that tension building in your abdominal muscles. We're going to add to that contracting the glutes. So imagine pinching a $100 bill between your cheeks. Then screw your feet into the ground. Really drive them in. You can feel the muscles activating on the outside of your legs. You can also notice that your knees have shifted position a little bit more towards the outside. Now that we've got the lower body set, I want you to lift your shoulders up, back, and down, like you're trying to have a really good posture. Then, same as with the legs, imagine screwing the hands into the ground so you can feel that tension through your whole body now. Take a big deep breath in. Maintain that tension. When your core is braced properly, you should still be able to breathe. Now we're going to play around a little bit by modulating the tension. So maybe you're at about 10% irradiation right now. I want you to squeeze your muscles a little bit tighter. Try coming to about 30%. Still good? Okay, squeeze a little bit more. Let's try 60%. Make sure you can still breathe. We're going to go for the big one. Try and squeeze to 100%. You might feel some shaking in your body. That's totally normal. And then I want you to relax. Feel all the tension melting out of your body. Can you feel the difference between that full body irradiation and relaxation? It takes some practice, but hopefully you can see what I mean. For this practice, I want you to think about irradiating your body to about 20%. So not an exhausting amount, nothing that's going to leave you feeling fatigued, but enough to feel a difference between relaxation and the 20% tension. Now we're going to move through that daily mobility sequence that I referenced earlier. We're going to start at the neck. The idea of this is to move your joint through every range of motion that it has access to. By doing this, we're not just making sure that we're not losing that range of motion, we're also strengthening it, and we're keeping our joints healthy. Joints don't have a great blood supply, so by squeezing all the muscles around them, we're squeezing fluids and nutrients into the joints, and we're squeezing just waste products out of them. So it helps keep our joints healthy as well. For the neck, try placing your hands on your collarbone. You're going to just gently pull down. This will help increase the stretch when we get to part of this sequence. I want you to think about moving at about 10% resistance. So your body is irradiated to 20% tension, but your movement is self-resisted by about 10%. We're going to try and isolate the joint, and one vertebrae at a time, just draw your chin down towards your chest. Nice and slowly, and remembering to breathe. We're trying to move one vertebrae at a time. Once you don't have any more range of motion, you're going to rotate the chin over to the right shoulder, keeping it down towards the chest. Once here, take your right ear back towards the right heel. Now you're starting to feel that deeper stretch that we're getting by having our hands on our chest. Draw the chin up towards the ceiling, taking the head as far back as is comfortable. And then left ear towards left heel. We're scraping out every inch of the joint. Chin towards the left shoulder and down towards the chest. Before you relax, we're going to go back. Ready, rotate the chin towards the left shoulder. Left ear to left heel. Chin towards the ceiling. Right ear to right heel. Chin to right shoulder. Chin to chest. We're going to do that whole thing one more time. Keep that tension in your body. Chin towards the right shoulder. Right ear to right heel. Chin to the ceiling. Left ear to left heel. Chin to left shoulder. Chin to chest. Last time, chin to left shoulder. Left ear to left heel. Chin to the ceiling. Chin to right ear to right heel. Now chin to right shoulder. And chin to chest. And relax. Hopefully that felt really good. You just moved your neck in all the ways that it's supposed to move. You can use this as a self-awareness exercise too. Did any of that range of motion feel sticky or stuck? Was it smooth or was the movement jerky? All of this information is just data collecting. You're not judging any of it. We're just using this as a baseline to find out where your body is. After the neck, we're going to move on to the T-spine. So the T-spine is that mid-back up to the tops of your shoulders, your thoracic spine. We should be able to flex and extend and rotate in all directions from our spine, but quite often when we spend a lot of time sitting at desks or we're not doing those mobility exercises that our fitness instructors tell us to do, it can get really stiff, which can lead to issues in the low back as well as other areas. So now, still irradiating the body to 20%, cross your arms over your chest. You're going to bring your chin all the way down to your chest, and this is where it's going to stay. Keep that chin glued down to your chest as much as possible. I'm going to turn about 45 degrees just so that you can see better what I'm doing. We're going to flex forward from our spine, making sure every vertebrae is doing its best to move individually. We're going to avoid tucking our pelvis. Try and keep that lower back nice and neutral. From here, rotate the elbows to try and point them down directly over your right hip. Don't let your hips move with you. Hips stay facing forward. Similar to the neck, our right shoulder is going to extend back towards the right heel, getting as much movement as possible. Remembering to keep your chin down to your chest, start to flex backwards. Still keeping that low back neutral and the chin tucked. Left shoulder comes back towards left heel. Elbows over left hip. And again, down towards the front where we started. Just like with the neck, we're going to reverse this. So elbows over the left hip, left shoulder to left heel. Extend back, keeping that chin tucked. Right shoulder to right heel. Elbows over the right hip. And back to our starting point. And again, we're going to do that one more time. So elbows over the hip, right shoulder to right heel. Extend back, keeping that chin tucked. Left shoulder to left heel. Elbows to left hip. Back to center. And again, returning the elbows over that left hip. See if you can squeeze a little bit more movement out. Left shoulder back towards left heel. Chin stays tucked as we extend back. Right shoulder to right heel. Elbows over right hip. And back to the center. And relax. Feel free to shake it out a little bit, give your body a chance to recover from that 20% irradiation. It's not a lot, but it can be fatiguing if you're not used to it, so give yourself a break, grab some water if you need to, and start noticing if you feel good after doing these. I feel good, so I hope that you do too. We're going to move on to our shoulder blades. So shoulder blades should be able to move in several different directions. We're going to start with our hands on our thighs. So hands are going to stay directly on the side. They can't move forward and they can't move backward. They're just going to stay centered on our thighs. And start with your shoulders just relaxed, whatever their usual position is. 20% tension in the body, moving at 10% resistance. I want you to pull the shoulders forward, round your shoulders as much as possible. Keeping them rounded forward, lift them up towards your ears. So hands can move up and down on the thighs, but not forward and back. We're going to keep them up, but pull the shoulders back. Keeping them back, push them down. Good. Keeping them down, keeping them back still. Pull them back up. We're reversing that circle. Keeping them up, round them forward. Keeping them forward, push down. Good, one more time. Keeping them forward, lift up. Get the shoulders to the ears as much as you can. Keeping them up, push back. Good. Push them down and up. Forward and down. Good. Shake it out. Was that easy? Was that hard? Just check in with yourself. Collect this information without any judgment. If you choose to practice this on a daily basis, you will start to see improvements. If you like one of these better than the entire sequence, start with that one. If you want to use the neck one on a daily basis and go from there, that's totally fine. Moving on to shoulders. Again, I'm going to move 45 degrees so that you can see. One hand, the hand that we're not using, is making a fist and is down by our side, screwing into the floor to contribute to that 20% tension. Feet are screwed into the floor, whole body is irradiated to 20%. This hand, the left hand that we're working on, is going to stay open. You can see that my thumb is pointing forward. Keeping my neck neutral with my spine, doing my best to keep my shoulder the only thing that's moving, no other body part is helping. I'm going to pull my thumb up towards the ceiling. This will probably be the easiest part for you. Pull until you don't have any more range of motion, but don't cheat. Keep those ribs locked down. If you start to flare through the rib cage and the spine, stop right before that starts to happen. So if that's here, that's okay. If it's up here, also okay. Thumb is going to rotate forward, and as we keep that arm up as high as we can, we're going to draw it backwards. Continuing to rotate, I'm going to stick my thumb out so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm keeping that arm up nice and high as I rotate my thumb all the way back up to pointing to the ceiling. And then my pinky leads down so my arm is beside me again. Reverse that movement, push the thumb back up, and then externally rotate. Bring that arm back up as high as you can, and then push down. So even though that range of motion is easy, you're still actively controlling it. Let's do that again. Pull the thumb up towards the ceiling, stopping before the ribs flare. Rotate the thumb forward and keep that arm up nice and high as we pull back. Rotating all the way until our thumb points back up to the ceiling, and then the pinky leads down. Let's reverse that movement. Thumb externally rotates until the arm comes all the way up. Then we push down to our side and relax. Good. So you might be noticing a pattern that we're doing everything twice. So twice in each direction, and now you're going to see twice on each side. So let's move on to the right arm. Left arm is irradiated, it's making a fist. Right palm is open, and the body is irradiated to 20% tension. Let's pull that thumb up towards the ceiling. Rotate the thumb forward as we pull the arm back. Internally rotating while we keep that arm up as high as we can until the thumb points back up to the ceiling. Then the pinky leads back down to our side. Push the thumb up towards the ceiling. Externally rotating, squeezing every centimeter of movement we can. Bringing the arm back up and pushing down. Good. One more time. Push the thumb up. controlling the movement, 10% resistance. Rotate the thumb forward. Keep that arm up nice and high as you can as you internally rotate, drawing the thumb down towards the floor and then continuing back up to the ceiling and leading forward with the pinky. Last time, thumb up towards the ceiling, externally rotating, and pull back down to the start. And relax. That's something that I really like to include before any upper body workouts. So if I'm doing push-ups or overhead pressing, I like to make sure that my shoulders are in good working order before moving on to those movements. Grab yourself a glass of water if you need to. We're moving on to the elbows. So a quick note about elbow mechanics. So you might think that when you flex your elbow, your palm should come directly to your shoulder. But if you have good range of motion, your palm is actually going to come out a little bit beside it. That's going to be our goal with this movement, but if this is where you're at today, that's totally fine. So keep that elbow stuck in by your hip. If you have a small towel or a mobility ball, you can tuck it in there to give you a reminder to keep that elbow in place. Other arm is irradiated, contributing to that 20% tension in the whole body. We start with the palm facing forward. You're going to pull the palm up. So you're flexing your bicep, that 10% resistance. Once you've reached that end range of motion, rotate the palm forward. You're going to push down. Feel that tricep, the back of your arm activating as you push. Keep the palm in the same direction and pull back up. So there's that bicep again. Rotate the palm to face behind you and then push down. Feel that tricep again. Good, that was one rep. We're gonna go one more time. So pull the palm up towards the shoulder, rotate forward and push down. Pull back up, rotate the palm, and push down, and then relax. You might notice that I'm using words like push and pull, and that is to signify that there is active effort involved in what we're doing. If you are just kind of going through the motions, moving your arm around, you're not going to get much out of it. It's the difference between flexing your bicep and just bending your arm. One obviously has a lot more effort involved. Moving on to the left elbow, same thing. Keep it tucked in nice and close. Other arm is irradiated. 20% tension in the body, and we pull the palm up towards the shoulder, feeling that bicep activating. Rotate the palm forward and push down. There's the tricep, the back of the arm. Pull back up, that 10% resistance. Rotate the palm and push down. Good, that's one. One more time. Pull the palm up, rotate forward and push down. Pull back up, rotate and push. Good, shake it out. Throughout all of this, making sure that you're not holding your breath, you're taking in those big, deep, full breaths, preferably through your nose. Now moving on to your wrists. If you're spending a lot more time than usual sitting at a desk, or if you've been doing a lot of push-ups in your at-home workouts, this one is going to be for you. It's going to help just work out all of those kinks. So for this one, your forearm is going to point up towards the ceiling. You're just going to rest the forearm on your other hand. Still keeping that elbow in nice and tight, making sure that we're only moving from the wrist. With the fingers and the palm, you're keeping them in line with the forearm. So it can be tempting to move the fingers independently. You're going to think of this all as one chunk that has to move together. So keeping the forearm supported but not held, and keeping the forearm pointing up towards the ceiling, so we're not allowing it to rotate at all. We're going to draw the pinky in towards the midline. Point the fingers down towards the floor, like you're starting a circle. I'll just turn to the side so you can see how much active movement you have in this position. You're going to draw the thumb out to the side like you're trying to lay it flat against the side of your forearm. And continuing up into the circle, try and point your fingers directly to the ceiling. So we're not cheating by pointing them. Is your palm pointing up towards the ceiling? That's the goal. We're going to reverse that movement. So thumb trying to touch the outside of your forearm, fingers pointing down, pinky comes into the midline and back up to the ceiling. One more time, pinky to the middle, fingers down, really scraping out that joint, getting as much movement as possible, thumb to the forearm, and fingers up towards the ceiling. Reverse that one more time, thumb to the side, fingers down, pinky to the middle, and relax. I want to draw your attention to how much movement you have when your wrist is in this position. If your fingers aren't pointing directly down towards the floor, that could give you an idea of why you might be having pain if you're doing push-ups. Push-ups require that 90-degree bend at the wrist, and if you can only actively get your wrist to here, then you're forcing your body into that position every time you do that movement. If you are someone who has pain when you're doing push-ups, I suggest doing this in your warm-up before you do that exercise. Let's move on to the left wrist, and I want to encourage you to pay attention to any differences that you see between the different sides of your body. Again, not with judgment, just with curiosity. If you spend a lot of time on the computer and you do a lot of mousing with the right wrist, that could be why you might have some mobility differences between the two sides. You just do a few extra rounds on the wrist that needs more attention. So setting up for the left wrist, resting the forearm on the hand, elbow is tucked in nice and tight to our side, and remembering that the palm and the fingers are moving as one piece, and the forearm is pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to draw the pinky in towards your middle, point the fingers down towards the floor, moving at that 10% resistance. Thumb comes out to the side, and fingers come up to the ceiling. And again, we're not cheating, we're not pointing the fingers towards us. Every movement is happening just from the wrist. Let's reverse that movement. So thumb out to the side, fingers down, pinky to the middle, and back up. One last time. Pinky to the midline, fingers point down, thumb out to the side, and back up. Good, shake that out. Okay, so upper body is done. We're going to move on to the lower body. If you're someone who doesn't have very good balance, I encourage you to find a steady wall, something that you can push into, so it just gives you that little extra bit of stability. Starting on the left side, right hand is right into the wall if you need it. Left arm is straight out in front, making a fist, creating that irradiation. Right leg is screwed into the ground to move at that, or to keep that 20% tension. Now, once you found your balance, you're going to pull that left leg up towards you, trying to get that knee as high as you can. If drawing it up to the front, you run out of room very quickly, you might find that bringing it out to the side slightly gives you a little bit more room. Your body probably isn't used to moving this way. You may get some cramping. It is normal, and I want you to do your best to fight through it. From here, we're going to pull that knee out to the side, trying to keep it as high as we can. We're going to internally rotate, so knee drops down as the foot comes up, and we're only moving from the hip joint, no cheating. We're going to pull that leg back behind us. If you can, squeeze out a little bit more range of motion without tipping yourself forward. Once there, pull the leg back beside the other one. Push back. Externally rotate, so lift the knee as you drop the foot. Pull the leg back in front of you and push down beside the other leg. Just like with the other ones, we're not done yet. One more time. Pull the knee up. Rotate out to the side. Internally rotate. Drop that knee, lift that foot, and bring it back behind you. Squeeze a little bit if you can, and then bring beside the other leg. Push back, externally rotate, lift that knee up as high as you can, pull in front of your body, and push to return back to where you started. And then relax. So now you're going to get to see a pretty good depiction of differences between the sides of the body. I had reconstructive surgery on this right hip, so you're going to get to see a pretty significant difference between the sides of my body. It's a lot better than it was, and with some dedication and consistency, you can improve your body too. So let's set up on the other side, balance if you need it, right arm out in front. We're going to pull the knee up, moving at that 10% resistance, coming out to the side if you need to, opening up as much as possible, only moving through the hip. We're going to internally rotate, drop the knee, lift the foot as we take the leg back behind us. Squeeze a little bit more movement if you can, and then back beside the other leg. Reverse, so push the leg back, externally rotate, lift the knee, drop the foot, and pull the knee in front of you. Push down beside the other leg, and then one more time. Lift that knee as high as you can, open up to the side, drop the knee, lift the foot, and bring it back behind you. Push a little bit more if you can, and then back beside the other leg. Last time, reverse that movement. Open up to the side, pull the knee in front, and then push down beside the other leg, and relax. Good, so now we're going to take a seated position. So if you need a pillow or a mat or anything to keep you comfy, grab that now. We're going to move on to working on our knees. So this one it's likely that you'll feel it mostly in your hamstrings. A lot of us have very tight hamstrings, and that tends to be where we need this movement the most. As your hamstrings start to relax and become a little bit more comfortable with the movement, you'll start to feel it more in your actual knee joint. To set up for this one, starting on the right leg, left leg is straight out in front of you. Right arm is going to thread under the right knee. We're going to reach for the left bicep or shoulder, and then the left hand is going to grasp onto the right shoulder. Lift that foot gently off the ground, not so much that you're uncomfortable, just enough that you have space to move. If your hamstring is very tight, you'll feel a significant amount of pressure on your forearm, but that's totally normal. From here, you're going to internally rotate. So pull the toes in towards the middle, making sure that you're moving from the knee joint and not just the ankle. So toes come to the middle. You might want to take a big deep breath for this one. As you exhale, straighten that leg. Good. Straighten it as much as you can. Keep it up there and turn the toes to the outside. Still moving from the knee. And then imagining that you have gum on the bottom of your foot. I want you to scrape your foot back, like you're trying to scrape the gum off the bottom of your foot. Keeping the toes pointing to the outside. Again, straighten. You might have some cramping with this one too. Turn the toes to the inside and scrape back. Good, so that was one. One more time. Keep those toes to the middle and straighten that leg as much as you can. Good, keep it out there. Turn the toes to the outside and scrape back. Remembering we're still moving in that 10% resistance. Keep the toes to the outside and push that leg up. Good, toes to the inside and scrape. Scrape that gum off the bottom of your foot. And then relax. Cramping in the toes is normal with that one. Cramping in the calf. I personally feel it a lot in my toes no matter how many times I do this. I'm hoping that that will go away at some point. Okay, moving on to the left knee. So same setup. Right leg is straight out in front. Left arm is going to thread under the left leg. Reach for the right bicep or shoulder with the left hand, and the right hand reaches for the left shoulder. Lift gently off the ground. Irradiate to 20%. Take a big deep breath. And here we go. Turn the toes to the inside. Exhale as you straighten that leg as much as you can. Keep it up nice and high and turn the toes to the outside. Now you have gum on the other foot, so scrape it off. Pull the heel back. Good. Straighten that leg again, keeping the toes to the outside. Turn the toes to the inside and scrape. Good. One more time. Straighten that leg, keep the toes to the inside. Get as much range of motion as you can. Toes to the outside. Scrape back. Good. Last one. Straighten the leg. Turn the toes to the inside and scrape. And relax. Good. Now that you have the gum off of your shoes, we can move on to our kneecaps. Yes, I said that right. Your kneecaps should be able to move. They should be able to move side to side with no discomfort. If we're running a lot, our kneecaps are something that can get irritated. So this is something that I like to include before I run. So start with your right leg. Try and keep that leg as relaxed as possible. If you've never played with your kneecaps before, which I mean, I guess is a fairly normal thing to have never done, try just moving it side to side. See how well it moves. If there's any discomfort, you can skip this one. If there's not, then feel free to join me in playing with your kneecap. So, we're going to start by pushing it to the outside as much as possible. Get as much movement there as you can. While you're keeping it to the outside, take your other hand and push the kneecap down. We're trying to maintain the outside and downward push as much as possible. Now, still keeping it down, use that same hand to push it to the inside. So you're removing the pressure with the other hand. Keeping it to the inside, use the other hand to push up. Up and down, you probably won't get as much movement as side to side, and that's totally normal. Now that we're keeping it up, use the other hand to push it to the outside as much as possible. Then keeping it outside, we're going to push down. Keeping it down, we're going to push inside. And you guessed it, we're going to reverse. So, keeping it to the inside, push down. Keeping it down, push to the outside. Keeping it outside, push it up. Keeping it up, push it inside. And one more time, keeping it inside, push down. Keeping it down, push outside. Keeping it outside, push up. Good. Okay. Other leg. Relax the left leg. Make sure that the quad is nice and chilled out. Maybe push the kneecap side to side a little bit, get an idea of what you're working with. And then push to the outside. Push down as you keep it to the outside. Keep it down as you push to the inside. Keep it inside as you push up and up as you push to the outside. One more time, keeping it outside, push down. As you keep it down, push inside. Keep that leg relaxed or it'll stop moving. As you keep it inside, push up. Good. And let's reverse. Keeping it up, push inside. Keeping it inside, push down. Keeping it down, push outside. Keeping it outside, push up. One more time in this direction. Keeping it up, push inside. Keeping it inside, push down. Keeping it down, push outside. Keeping it outside, push up. Good. Okay, there you go. That's your kneecaps. After today, you'll never be able to say that you've never played with your kneecaps. So, moving on to ankles. Ankles are nearly exactly the same setup as for your knees. So, bend that right knee and keep that left leg straight. Right arm threads under the right knee. This time, you're definitely holding on to the right bicep. Your left hand is holding on to your lower right leg. This is because we don't want to move from our knee this time. We only want to move from our ankle. Keep that leg tucked in nice and close to you so you can isolate that joint. This one, you will most definitely have some cramping in your toes, and that's just because you haven't done this before. Your body is saying to you, what's going on? We've never done this before. I'm not sure what you're doing. And you're just telling your body, hey, it's okay. I should have control over these joints, so I'm going to take it. So try and fight through the cramping if you can. I know it sucks and it's uncomfortable, but take a big deep breath in and exhale through it. So, keeping that lower leg from moving, you're gonna point your toes down. Try and point them straight down to the floor. And making a big circle, still moving at that 10% tension. Draw the toes to the middle. Good. Lift the toes up towards the ceiling. Still trying to keep as much movement as possible. And take the toes out to the outside. Point them down towards the floor. Good. We'll reverse that. So toes to the outside. Toes up towards the ceiling. Inside. And back down. Good. One more time. Toes to the middle. Toes up. Toes outside. And down to the floor. I don't know about you, but my toes are cramping very badly. Toes to the outside. Toes up towards the ceiling. To the middle. And down towards the floor. Good. And relax. Other side. Same setup again. So left arm under the left knee, grabbing onto the right bicep. Right hand is holding that shin, making sure no movement is coming from your knee. Big deep breath in, get ready for those toe cramps, and point down towards the floor. Pull the toes in towards the middle, up towards the ceiling, getting as much movement as you can, out to the side, and back down. Reverse that movement, fight through those cramps, toes to the outside, up towards the ceiling, inside, and back to the floor. One more time, toes to the middle, toes to the ceiling, outside, and back down. Reverse last time, toes to the outside, up to the ceiling, to the middle, and down. Good, and relax. You made it. You moved your whole body from your head down to your feet. Just a refresher, this is something that you can do every day. Once you know exactly what you're doing, it'll take you about 10 minutes. You can do it first thing when you wake up, or last thing you do before you go to bed, or any time in between. Just use it on a consistent basis to see improvements and to use it as that check-in tool for your body. Make sure that you're recovering well, that your joints are healthy. You can make this more challenging by increasing the amount of irradiation in your body. So instead of 20%, you can try 50%, 60%. I wouldn't do the whole sequence that way, but if you want to work on your neck or your hips specifically, you can try increasing the challenge that way. You can also try by squeezing something in your hand, squeezing it behind your knee, a mobility ball or something light, but just that gives you that feedback of having to hold on to something. Feel free to let me know how this went for you, if you're going to continue doing it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, please let me know. Once again, I'm Jessica from Garrison Petawawa, and I hope you have a lovely long weekend.